Hey nerds, welcome to my re-impressions of Final Fantasy XIV. Or my first impressions actually, because I never started posting any content for Final Fantasy XIV on YouTube until Shadowbringers. For the most part, I had streamed ever since I started playing, and I feel like that may have skewed my impression a bit. Having people to play with without really having to ask, being really excited about theories and kind of going over them with chat, and being pointed in the right direction for certain things that maybe I wouldn't have found out if I was just playing it regularly as a new player. So, last night I actually resubscribed, created a character, and got into the world. I started in Ul'dah, and there were a couple of things that I noticed already that were different, especially coming from now that I've been playing Guild Wars 2, and I'm going to share that with you guys in this video, so hopefully you like it, and if you want to see more of these, don't forget to let me know in the comments below. I actually have some links in the description as well that support me, and don't forget to like, subscribe, applaud if you would like. That's like giving a tip, and I'll see you at the next one. One of the first things I noticed was actually the website. I had forgotten how hard it was to navigate, and previously, when I was looking to get the game, I purchased it, meaning that I got everything I needed in an email, the registration key, the download link, all of it. Since then, I've had to redo my operating system multiple times, and every single time I would just type into Google FF14 download. I'd forgotten that. And so last night when I went to download the game, I went to the lodestone because I figured that's where everything is, and I couldn't find it. I found where you could purchase the game. I found where you could start the free trial. I redid my subscription, and then I finally found under the MOG station where I could re-download the game. But it took me probably 10 minutes, and I don't know if that's just because I couldn't remember, but I feel like it should be right there in front of you on both the 14 page and the lodestone rather than just the MOG station. And it also is kind of confusing having that many websites, or web pages rather, to navigate. It's not terrible. All of the web pages are super cute and they have a lot of information. I mean, a lot of information. But that's something I feel could be a bit more concise. And I wish they would update the payment methods with PayPal as well. That would be incredible. With that said, everyone knows that Asmongold has started playing Final Fantasy XIV, as well as Rich Campbell, Co-Carnage, among others. And so every single data center, for the most part, that I had tried to create a character on last night, too, was locked on pretty much every single world. So I ended up going to Crystal, creating a character on Diabolos. And funnily enough, even with Crystal, there were only 2 worlds that you could create characters on. Now, I know it differs on time of day and whatnot, but I was just like, man, because I had created a full character and was really excited because she looked super, like, tribal. And I went to log in and it's like, nope, none of these areas are available. And I'm freaking out because I'm like, oh, I didn't save the appearance data, so I had to pick a different data center and redo my character. So it would have been nice if you could see beforehand if anything was full. I think it's amazing that stuff is full because that means that the game is getting even more hype. And that was what I always wanted when I was playing the game really intensely, because I think the devs deserve it. But at the same time, I was like, no. Anywho, first impressions of the game. So character creation on point. The only thing that I really wish 14 had as part of character creation, and even though it doesn't really matter in Guild Wars 2, because you get new gear eventually anyway, I wish that you could dye the clothes that you were given for your job. But I love that you can swap landscapes, so you have different lighting. There's all of these numbers of skin tones. I absolutely love character creation for Final Fantasy. That has not changed. I could probably make 20 different characters, have a full stream out of it. I'm pretty sure I have in the past. And it was a lot of fun. And this time, I actually really took my time and read all of the deities and read all of the backgrounds for all of the races and their, like, essentially sub-genres. I went with a Highlander because I was really excited about having the Thylander. And I actually read about all of the classes as well, and it was a lot of fun. I actually probably am going to butcher this name, but I created this barbarian-like character, which is something that I mentioned previously that's supposed to be very Nordic inspired. So I went with these like dreads too, and I've never used dreads in Final Fantasy before. And she looks gorgeous, I think. And the deity that I ended up choosing was yeah. At any rate, I'm probably pronouncing it wrong. If you guys can help me with the pronunciation, please let me know in the comments below. But I was really excited because it's a nomad. You know, it's like a deity that encourages that exploration. And I was really excited because previously I've always just chosen like Rhalgr or something for like war or fire or destruction. And I never actually read all of the deities because I didn't think people would want to hear it while I was on stream. So that was actually a lot of fun. And getting into the game, I talked to every single NPC, which was also a lot of fun. I think the only thing that was different for me compared to, again, now playing Guild Wars 2, is pretty much most of the dialogue is ambient that you can see over people's heads. And then if you talk to them, they have dialogue that's kind of like pertinent to things that you've seen out in the world while doing hearts, which you could kind of almost connect to fates, except they have an actual little bit of story and way more people come out and help you with them. And there's different choices of things you can do. So instead of slaying a bunch of things, like you don't go out and slay a bunch of Cactuar, you would be given this option where this person needs help on their farm. And so you could either help like tend to all of the agriculture, or you could herd animals, or you could slay whatever predators are trying to prey on the animals, and then you get karma in return instead of gil. So if you wanted to compare that, I think that the dialogue of the NPCs in Final Fantasy XIV is very cute. I know it differs down the road, but for me, starting off as feeling like a new player again, it was all very cutesy and didn't feel like it really mattered as much to the story. And again, I know it will change, but I was just kind of like, oh, this is different. And the other thing I will say too is having the bubbles and the big box for the MSQ, whilst it's great to give the players direction, for me was a little bit distracting now that I've played Guild Wars 2, because I don't really have anything on my screen for Guild Wars 2, especially out in the world. Like, they don't have quests like that. They have hearts that pop up if you're in the area, and it's just like, it pops up like your quest does underneath the minimap in 14. And so for me, seeing all of those exclamation points again for quests, or where you need to go for the MSQ, or doing your job quests, was actually a lot. It was a lot on my minimap, and it distracted me, I think, from talking to a lot of the NPCs. It's not necessarily a bad thing, because I actually really loved when I played World of Warcraft to grab every single quest in a city. And I didn't end up doing that in Final Fantasy XIV when I originally streamed it, because many people had mentioned that I was going to want to level up all of my different jobs on one character. For those of you who don't know, you can level up every single job on one character, or class, if you want to call it that. And they're like, save those, you'll come back and do them possibly, and you can do them on other jobs. And I never did, because it made more sense to do roulettes and things like that, because you got a lot more experience, or Palace of the Dead or whatever. So I actually was excited to talk to every single person, and even if the quests were silly, even if they were just fetch quests, I was excited to grab every single one of them. Although, like I said, they were a little bit distracting, so good things and bad things. Not bad things, but odd things, I guess, for my new playthrough, but I'm really excited to delve into more. So how many people play on Classic Movement and not Legacy? I have to play on Legacy. Coming from World of Warcraft before I started playing 14 to begin with, it's a lot easier for me to deal with the movement-based mechanics if I'm able to run back. I still use my auto-face target, though, just in case. But the movement still felt really weird compared to Guild Wars 2, and this is to no fault of the game at all, but I kept trying to hit F when talking to people, because that's how you interact in Guild Wars 2, and I almost changed the interact key. But then I was like, no, I might need F for all of my abilities later, because obviously you have a ton of abilities to weave in 14. And with that said, of course, being level 3, the combat felt a little bit slow. Although I am one of those people that likes to level up from 1, and I do like getting all of my abilities, reading them, putting them in a specific order on my UI. I love that the UI for FF14 is so customizable. I don't know if you guys saw, but I actually take the target, put it over to the right, and then I make it so that the target HP, the target info, and the target status, so like its enfeeblements and things like that, are actually all separated, and I enlarge them to make sure I can see them, because obviously you have to deal with the ping for the actual cast bar going off, and even though you can step back in if the graphic isn't actually done, if the cast bar is off, you're dead. So I did change that, and I do love that, but the movement felt wonky, combat was a little slow. I am playing a gladiator, so that's possibly part of it. I feel like when I initially started, when I streamed, when I played a bard, it wasn't as bad. But I did want to do something different, so all in all, it was a good experience so far. I will keep letting you guys know, and I'll be posting my reactions to the MSQ as well. If you guys like this, and you like my little rants and ideas and advice about the game, let me know. If you don't like it, let me know as well. And I will see you guys in the next one. The next one I'll probably be going over mini-maps, items, crafting and gathering, a little bit more into combat, and the actual MSQ quests and the class quests, so stay tuned.